Okay, people, got a lot of very positive feedback on the first episode of the Algae review video. That was nice. Appreciate it. Decided to do another one because, yeah, we still have a ton of emails to go through. So in this episode, I'll just try to do as many as possible, but yeah, there's so many emails, I cannot do every single one of them. So maybe we'll just have to do a third episode. So, and if you still want your Algae reviewed, then I'll leave all the details in the video description. You can still apply for the to be part of this series. Okay, I'm gonna start with Michael from Belgium. This guy's been spamming me on Instagram, so maybe after I review his algae, maybe he's gonna finally leave him alone. I actually have a very good Belgium accent as well, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that. Okay, let's get serious. Let's go into it. Michael, 35. I don't know why he mentioned his age. It's quite nice. Thank you. His aquarium is 90 centimeters. It's 90 centimeters shallow tank. And his light is a Juwel Rio RGB2 Pro. His light is on from 9 AM to 4 PM at 50% with a 1 hour RAM time. He started on 22nd of April. Substrate is 80 Amazonia version 2. He's using Tropica Specialized 2 milliliters per day. CO2 is on 3 hours before the lights and goes off the same time as the lights. His filter is an Oase Biomaster 850 Thermo on a 90 centimeter shallow tank. So I don't think filtration is the problem here. That's quite an overkill. And then he's using some Odosinclus, some Amanos, and 1 Cleton snail. Nice. Okay, so what is the problem here? Well, basically it's the light. The Juwel RGB2 Pro is like probably one of the most powerful lights on the market right now. And he says he's only running it on 50%, but 50% with this light is still like 100% with a normal aquarium light, you know? So it's just way too bright. And also, if you can see from the pictures, he's using some Monte Carlo. There's a little bit of Crypt Parva. There's some Pogastomon decadensis that he's trying to grow immersed, I guess. So there's just not really a lot of plant mass. And it's a shallow tank, so it's only 30 centimeters deep. And you just don't really need that much light with only 30 centimeters depth. So Michael, my advice to you would be to reduce your light, I don't know, to like, I think 20%, 25% should already be enough. Actually, let me show you. I have the same light as well. So here I have my 70-liter scaper tank, which also has the Juwel RGB2 Pro. And I think I'm running it on like 50 or 60%. So let me reduce this to 20%. Okay, so of course the camera kind of compensates for the lower brightness, but this is 25% with all channels. And that's still plenty enough to just grow some Monte Carlo, you know? So Michael, I would say bring it down all the way to like 25%. Just at least until the algae is gone, you know? Once the algae is gone, you can slowly bump it up again to like 30 or like 35. But I think I wouldn't go much higher than that, to be honest. I had another email with somebody who was also using the Juwel RGB2 Pro. This one is from Wesley from the United States. He has a 35-gallon cube, 20 by 20 by 20 inches. And he's using the Juwel RGB2 Pro at 75%, 9 hours a day, 8 AM to 5 PM. Tank's been set up for 8 weeks. He's using Aquasoil. For ferts, he's using Glosso Factory P 3 pumps and K 3 pumps Monday, Wednesday, Friday. For CO2 injection, he's using CO2 out inline diffuser, comes on 2 hours prior to the lights, all good. What's interesting is fertilizer dosing. He's using a brand called Glosso Factory, never heard of that. Glosso Factory P, Glosso Factory K, and Micro. So I'm missing nitrate. Okay, so just looking at the pictures, he's struggling with some staghorn algae. There's a little bit of black brush algae as well. So Wesley, same advice to you. I would just reduce the light intensity. That Juwel is just super bright. I would say go down to 50% because I mean you have a 20-inch cube, so it's still quite high. So I would say go to 50% again because you have very little plants. I mean there is some anubias, there's some java ferns, there's a few stem plants, there's some hair grass, but all in all it's just not really a lot of plants in there. And also interesting, yeah, your fertilizers. I'm missing nitrate, so I would start dosing that as well. But definitely reduce it as well. I mean 3 pumps phosphate, 3 pumps potassium, 2 pumps micro, all that in a week for such little amount of plants. I would definitely reduce it. Okay, next up we have Jackie from Texas. I love Texas. Never been there, but I would really like to go there. I had my first Texas barbecue like 2 weeks ago. Like big piece of brisket. It was amazing. So Jackie has a 29-gallon operating with the LED Star AQ J60 RGB LED light. Interesting light. I've never heard of this, so I'm just gonna quickly Google it. Okay, so this light has 110 lumens per watt. So you have the J60, which is 72 watt. 72 multiplied by 110. Who's good at math? Where's the calculator? That's almost 8,000 lumens. That's not bad for a 29 gallon. So let's see what else Jackie has to say. The tank has been up and running for 6 months, and her algae issues did not escalate until she purchased this high-tech light 3 months ago. Yeah, I think that makes sense. She has been running CO2 injection using the CO2R Pro AC regulator from 7:30 till 9 p.m. However, it's only been 3 weeks since I began using it. Okay, so you've only been using CO2 for 3 weeks. I use Fluval Stratum substrate along with Secum Flourish tab for added nutrients. I also add Secum Pristine to help maintain water quality and break up excess waste. Maintenance consists of scrubbing algae from the tank walls, topping off close to 3 gallons of water that evaporates each week. I recently discovered your channel and I found it to be incredibly helpful and nice to watch. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so looking at our pictures, we see some hair algae on the leaves. We see a lot of black brush algae. Yeah, basically everything you would expect with this much light. Okay, Jackie, so basically my advice to you is similar to the previous 2 tanks, just reduce the light. I mean, I don't know this brand in particular. I'm sure it is dimmable, at least I hope so. I would definitely dim it by quite a lot as well, because you just have some easy plants. I see some Echinodoras, I see some Nubias. There's something in the carpet as well, but I'm not sure what it is. But all these plants are relatively easy plants. They don't need that much light. So yeah, I would just reduce by a lot. And now that you're adding CO2 since 3 weeks, that will also help the situation as well. Temporarily add some liquid carbon to basically help kill the algae. And then once the algae is gone, if you want to, you can slowly bump up the intensity again, just until you kind of find the limit, you know? So once you start seeing some algae again, then you know you've hit the limit, reduced it again a little bit, and then you should be good. Also, light schedule from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. is quite a lot. Again, I don't know the intensity of the light, but if you can reduce that a little bit, that will definitely help your situation. All right, next up we have fellow Dutch guy Tommy. Tommy has a Juwel Rio 180, Juwel Helix Spectrum lights, 9 hours, up and running for 4 months, Aquasoil, planter box, lean dosing, CO2 injection, every Sunday 50% water change. Spray bar at the back, not a big fan of the spray bar to be honest. 26 neon tetras, 6 autocinclus, 2 pistogramma, 8 amano shrimp, 5 neocaridina bloody mary, and 10 neocaridina blue dream. That's a lot of fish and a lot of shrimp, but we have a big tank, so that's totally fine. So Tommy is struggling with some blue-green algae along the substrate line. Yeah, I mean, I can only guess where that came from. I'm guessing that it has something to do with the increasing temperatures because of the summer. Yeah, we can make this really difficult, but I think the easiest way is to just kill it with some liquid carbon. So Tommy, what I would do is take a syringe, you know those actual syringes with the needles on top, fill that all the way with liquid carbon, and then just inject that all along the substrate line. That will kill the cyanobacteria, and then it shouldn't really come back anymore. Okay, then we have another aquarium with some blue-green algae issues. This one is from Cesar from Mexico. Cesar has a Twinstar 45B for the period of 7 hours. It's been up and running for 9 weeks. In the back of the aquarium he has some Secum Fluoride Black, and the rest is sand. And then fertilizer, he's using some nutrient capsules in the substrate. And then he's only been dosing liquid fertilizer for the last 5 weeks. He's injecting CO2, weekly water changes. Yeah, so he's basically struggling with some blue-green algae and also some black brush and some hair algae. So blue-green algae is always a bit of a mystery why it appears. Usually it's just a nutrient imbalance. Also in new tanks, it's quite common that it just appears for no apparent reason. And I'm guessing in Mexico it's quite warm as well, and blue-green algae just likes warm water. So just like I said with Tommy, like you could try injecting liquid carbon into the substrate, but I do see that you have a nice carpet with the hair grass. And doing that method will probably kill the hair grass as well, so I would not advise that. I think Cesar, best method for you is just to do a quick 3 to 4 day blackout. So just cover the tank completely with trash bags or sheets. Just make sure it's completely 100% pitch black. There cannot be any light inside. That will kill the blue-green algae. And then, I mean, if I'm looking at your story and your pictures, it seems like you're doing everything quite well. So if you do the blackout, then I'm sure after that the blue-green algae shouldn't really come back anymore. And my guess is also that once you get rid of the blue-green algae, the little bit of black brush algae and the little bit of hair algae will disappear by itself as well. Because a lot of times that I've experienced myself, like whenever I had blue-green algae, I had a lot of other types of algae as well. They kind of work together. And once you get rid of the blue-green algae, the rest of the algae will slowly disappear as well. Okay, next up we have a low-tech tank from Walid van Schie. Sounds like a Dutch name, I'm not sure. He says he has a Sado 45P aquarium of the brand Strideways. He's using a Twinstar 45B. The aquarium's been set up for 7 weeks, so that's not too long. He's using Denla Aquasoil, and he's dosing 1 pump of liquid fertilizer every 2 weeks. He's not using CO2. He's curious how the Rotala Astra will grow without CO2, and he wants to start adding CO2 after the summer holidays. Okay, cool. Once a week he's changing 10 liters of water, he's cleaning the glass, and he's trimming the Monte Carlo. And he started with 3 cherry shrimp and 1 Otocinclus, and the shrimp population has exploded. And would this have an effect on algae growth? No, I don't think shrimp population has an effect on algae growth. And he would also like to add celestial pearl danios. Yeah, I think CPDs can be a nice addition to this aquarium. They can be a little bit shy, so yeah, maybe if the background plants grow in a bit more, it will be better for them. Because right now you have too much open space and they'll probably like to hide. So Walid is struggling with some staghorn algae, especially in the Monte Carlo and on the Eleocharis as well. So what is the problem here? This fertilizer. Fertilizer is interesting. This is the Colombo Flora Grow Pro special fertilizer for heavily planted tanks. So I tried googling this fertilizer. They give absolutely no information about what's inside. So yeah, I really don't understand when companies do that. I mean, I would like to know what kind of nutrients I'm actually adding into the aquarium. But apparently it's a secret recipe. So Walid, your aquarium. I really like your rock composition, but I think the issue is the rocks. I'm not going to tell you to remove them, but yeah, maybe there's something we can do about it. So these are beautiful cereal stones. You really made a nice composition, I like it. These rocks release a lot of minerals into the water, a lot of calcium, and they're really raising the pH of your water. And by doing that, they basically make it harder for your plants to grow because it makes it harder for them to absorb nutrients, it makes it harder for them to absorb CO2. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have some algae issues. Another thing that might be an issue is the heater. I see a heater. I can't see at which temperature you're keeping the aquarium, but just make sure you're keeping it at like 22 or 23 degrees Celsius. That's more than enough, especially with your current stocking. Walid, if I were you, I would look into reverse osmosis water, especially with all these cereal stones. That would really be beneficial. I mean, I'm not sure where you are located and what your tap water is currently like, but by switching to RO water, yeah, it will make the water a lot softer, make it easier for the plants to grow. I mean, RO units these days are actually quite cheap. I did a video not too long ago about RO versus tap, and there I showed my current RO unit, which is from Arca. It's the cheapest one. I think it's like 50 euros, $50, something like that. So if I were you, I would look into that. But also, if you are from the Netherlands, I know that in the Netherlands we have a few points where you can just buy reverse osmosis water. So you just drive there, you bring a big bucket, and then you can get it filled with reverse osmosis water, pay like a few euros, and that's it. That could also be an option, of course. I mean, other than that, Walid, I don't know what really could be the issue. Of course, switching to CO2 will help, but yeah, that's all. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is a bit of a mystery to me. I'm not sure what the problem is. I'm not sure how we can fix it. So this is going to be a shout out to the community. I know there's always some very knowledgeable people watching. So maybe together as a community, we can solve this person's algae issues. So this aquarium is from Ethan. So Ethan, if you're watching this, just comment on this video, say, guys, help me. And then we can all comment underneath that and hopefully help you out. So he has a 20 gallon with a Fluval Smart Light. Photo period is 8 hours. It's been up and running for 10 months already, so that's a long time. Should be like super stable. His substrate is Fluval Stratum. He's not dosing any fertilizer. I'll tell you why in a second. His CO2 is lime green for 8 hours with an inline diffuser. Maintenance is 2 30% water changes a week, one on Tuesday and one on Friday, with the chlorinated water that's been sitting in a jug with an air stone and a heater for a day. It's quite a long procedure. He thinks this aquarium is overstocked. There's about 20-25 cardinal tetras in there, in a 20 gallon. I mean, if that's all, then I don't think it's really overstocked, to be honest. But that is the reason why I stopped dosing fertilizers. And he says that his nitrates still stay around 20 parts per million. He thinks that's why he has his algae. He also thought it was because of the light, so he lowered the intensity, but then it was getting worse. He tried spotting the algae, but I killed the carpet, so he stopped doing that. So it has a beautiful carpet of Monte Carlo. Yeah, it's basically like a nice iwagumi with dragon stones. But the dragon stones are completely covered in... I don't even know what kind of algae this is. I mean, it looks like really short blackbush algae somehow, but it literally covered the entire rocks. Is it red algae? The only thing I'm thinking is, okay, you stop dosing liquid fertilizers. You still have high nitrates. I'm not sure about the rest of your nutrients. I'm sure the phosphates will be quite high as well. Maybe that could be an issue. The only thing I'm thinking is, okay, you're not dosing any liquid fertilizers, but just from fish waste alone, plants cannot really survive. They also need some micronutrients. They also need some potassium. So I think maybe you can try to start dosing some potassium. Maybe that will help. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, this one. Yeah, so everybody that's watching right now, if you think you know what the problem is with Ethan's aquarium, what type of algae he has and how we can fix it, then just drop a comment below and let's just all try to help Ethan get rid of his algae. Okay, we have to start wrapping this up. I'm gonna do a few more. The next one is from Nick. Nick has a Superfish scaper 45 with the scaper light. He has a base of fluval stratum which is capped with a good quality sand. Is there bad quality sand as well? Light period is 8 hours at 80%. It does get more daylight than the other things as it's closer to a window, but never full sunlight. CO2 is provided by a small fluval disposable kit. Oh, I really hate those disposable kits. Sorry Nick, but those kits are just, yeah, horrible. Can be inconsistent as it needs turning on in the morning and turning off at night. So you're actually manually switching it on and off as well. And sometimes he forgets to turn it on. Yeah, there we go. You aerate at night. This is consistent as it runs off a smart plug. Okay, so your nightly aeration is consistent, but your CO2 is not consistent. I did add tropical root taps at the start, which was probably a bad idea. Why? I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that's a good idea actually. You have been adding Colombo Carbo daily and Colombo Plant Fertilizer weekly. Okay, so the Colombo Plant Fertilizer is again that fertilizer that doesn't give any description about what kind of nutrients are actually in the bottle. Little hair algae, blackbeard algae, diatoms. Okay Nick, I think you have algae because of your inconsistent CO2. See if you can fix that. I mean, I would either just run the CO2 24/7 so you don't have to worry about switching it on or off at night, or just buy a simple solenoid so you can put on a timer and have it consistently coming on and off every single day. Because inconsistent CO2 is that's just one of the main reasons why you're going to get algae. Another issue I think is the placement of your CO2 diffuser. I can see on this picture here that the CO2 diffuser is mostly on the left side and the outflow of your hang on the back filter is a bit in the middle, more towards the right. I would change that. See if you can place the CO2 diffuser on the right side, completely on the right side, and maybe you can move the filter a little bit more towards the right as well. So all those CO2 microbubbles get distributed properly throughout the entire aquarium. Another thing, I see a heater inside your aquarium. I don't know what kind of temperature that heater is set to. Just make sure that it's not too warm, like 22, 23 degrees Celsius. And yeah, maybe the scaper light is still a bit too strong. I know that this is quite a powerful light. If you can like reduce the intensity a little bit more, at least until the algae is gone again, that should definitely help the issue. Yeah, I think that's it. I wish you good luck, Nick, with your setup. It's a good looking tank, so I think you can definitely turn it around. Next up we have Ian. Ian is from the UK, has the Juwel Rio 200 liters with upgraded Helialux lighting. Quite a long story. Ian, if you don't mind, I'm going to keep it short for this video. Yeah, basically Ian has a lot of epiphytes, so mostly Anubias, some Microzoan Windelov, some Trident as well. And he has a lot of algae on the leaves of the Anubias. Ian, I think the issue here is your fertilizer. So Ian is dosing TNC light, and this is just micro. The recommended dose is 3 milliliters for your size aquarium. So you're dosing half the recommended dose. And you just have some Anubias and some Microzorum, and these plants don't really need that much nutrients. I think if you just add like 1 milliliter of that TNC light once a week, that should be more than enough. And then the nitrate, phosphate, I mean, that will just come from your fish. So definitely just reduce your liquid fertilizer, and then all that algae on your Anubias leaves I'm sure that will disappear by itself. Okay, and then the last one of today's video. This one is from Subayoti, hope I pronounced that correctly. He has a 20-gallon. For the period is 6.5 hours. It's been up and running for 24 days, so quite a new setup. Tropica Aquasoil, Tropica Premium Nutrition twice a week. CO2 is on for 5 hours. So your photo period is 6.5 hours, but your CO2 is only 5 hours. I think I have staghorn algae in my tank on my driftwood and a few plants. There are some algae. Okay, Subayoti, I'm just looking at the pictures. I don't really see any staghorn algae, so I don't think you have any. What I'm seeing is just some like startup algae. So your aquarium has only been up and running for 24 days. So it's normal to have a little bit of algae here and there. And I mean, you have quite a decent plant mass. You have a really huge lily, which is looking really, really good. I see some Limnophila sessiliflora in the back, which is a very fast growing plant. The Tripartita is a fast growing plant. Hairgrass should grow decently with CO2 as well. So the only issue for you is just the CO2 and the photo period. If your photo period is 6.5 hours, then your CO2 should be on for at least 6.5 hours as well. Just make sure your CO2 starts at least an hour before the lights come on, and either have it switch off together with the lights or like half an hour to an hour earlier. Yeah, I think that's it. If I were you, I wouldn't really worry too much about these algae issues here. Of course, unless they really get out of control, but by the looks of it, it seems like you're doing everything quite well. Good job. Alright, so that was the second episode of the algae review series. Guys, let me know if I should make a part 3. And if you want to be part of part 3. If you want to be in part 3, then go to the video description, check all the questions, answer all the questions, and send me those answers to my email. Email will be in the description as well. That's it, guys. Don't forget to smash the like button, and see you next time. Take care.